What did Ridley Scott want after telling his story?
For everyone to like it.
We first met Josephine in the movie after being released from prison, and through the entire film, I couldn't stop thinking about how hard it was for her to be a woman at that time. But after actually got the chance to portray this interesting character, what would you say was the hardest thing for Josephine? Meet the expectations of an entire empire, or meet the expectations of her husband?
Such a good question, and I'm so touched that you feel like that as a woman, because I felt that learning about her life and playing her. I just couldn't believe how hard it would have been. But I think the hardest thing was a combination of the things you just mentioned, the empire and her husband, because to me the most painful female experience for her in it would have been needing so desperately to have a child.
I was more fascinated by the woman in his life where he could leave Egypt, take a frigate back to France because he thinks she's actually screwing around. That is comical, and it's absolutely true. And then what follows is marvelous because, the film is really centered around the story of these two people, and therefore we avoid that label of being historic. We're not historic at all. I think it's really about two vulnerable people from different ends. On the one side, he is the most powerful man in history with 2,500 books written about him. You know that? 2,500 books written about him. So any leader, politician, there's no one been covered like him.
And have this, heir to an empire be your body is responsible for him when it's not functioning in that way. As a woman, how you would feel, I just the pain of it, the raw pain of it, it was almost too painful to even, touch, because I just so felt for her. Having been able to have children before with somebody else, I think it was a tragedy in her life.
Those in power only see me as a brute, unfit for higher office.
Just like witches at black masses.
But I follow in the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Caesar.
Evil minds that plot destruction.
When I finished watching the movie, I couldn't help but think that Napoleon won battles, but Josephine hearts. But what did Ridley Scott want after telling his story?
For everyone to like it. Whenever I do something, I'm always sticking my neck out to get my head chopped off. It's a bad pun for the guillotine. But, in Paris, I was trying to test the French to see if they have any sense of humor at all. Don't say that, all right? And I said, here's an Englishman making a film about the most famous Frenchman in history. I hope I get it right. And if I don't, please don't guillotine me. Dead silence. I said, that's a joke. They go, oh, ha ha.
I must warn you, I will not lead a second in command. I will win by fire. I am destined for greatness.
I think there are different ways to be smart and ambitious, because the history books taught us that Napoleon was an incredible, smart strategist who conquered a lot of territories and made it through Moscow. But would you say that this movie shows how smart and ambitious Josephine also was? Because since the first moment she met Napoleon, she saw something incredible, ambitious in him, and was smart enough to conquer the greatest man at that time.
I do think that she was a strategist in many ways. I think anyone that's that much of a survivor and lived through so many different, extremely dangerous, frightening times would have had to have been in order to become what she did and maintain a relationship with somebody that was that dominant and intense. So I think she was equally that. I feel like they were a match for each other. And there were many accounts. We filmed some scenes, and these aren't in it, of her manipulating generals or strategizing politically and helping him to do that, or influencing him. She was notoriously influential in that sense, and I really thought that was so cool and really unusual.
Whose country are we in?